You're welcome to Greater Tomorrow platform on Jolash online radio and TV station Eleyele Ibadan. It's another Wednesday and we're here to showcase things that affect our youth. You'll notice I'm going to be taking today alone without a guest. But we are also going to be talking about things that affect our young people. Greater Tomorrow platform is a platform that is designed to showcase our young people. And we encourage you to reach out to us, contact us. If you have young people you will like us to host, you will like us to showcase for you. I am Chinyere Adeyemo. You are welcome to this week's presentation. It is Greater Tomorrow platform on Jolash online radio and TV station Eleyele Ibadan. Today we are going to be talking about something that affects young people. Now, if you notice, especially if you're in Nigeria, there's something that trended. It's been trending, really. Trended last week, from last week, it's still trending. There was a celebrated case of a child sexual abuse. And as a member of Child Protection Network myself, child sexual abuse is a case that we deal with, we handle every day. Child sexual abuse. Generally, child protection protects children, and a lot of times we have to handle cases of child sexual abuse. So today on the platform, we are going to be looking at child sexual abuse. What exactly is child sexual abuse? Who are the people who abuse children? We're going to talk a lot of things about child sexual abuse. And we're going to do it by reviewing a book. I have a book, Exposed: What Sexual Abusers Hide from Parents. Exposed: What Sexual Abusers Hide from Parents. I am the author of the book, and on today's program, we're going to be reviewing the book in line with what is trending about child sexual abuse. So today, we will be looking at child sexual abuse because it is an important topic that affects our children. So let's start with child sexual abuse. What is child sexual abuse? Remember, I said I'll be talking from the book, we'll be reviewing it, we'll be learning lessons from the book Exposed: What Sexual Abusers Hide from Parents. So I'll just be touching tips. So first, let's look at what child sexual abuse is. Now, child sexual abuse is a form of abuse in which an adult or an older adolescent takes advantage of a child's ignorance. An adult or an older adolescent takes advantage of a child's ignorance and sexually touches the child for the adult's sexual stimulation. We're looking at a situation where at every point in time where we talk about child sexual abuse, let's understand that there is always an adult or an older adolescent who takes advantage of an ignorant child and sexually touches that child, mostly for the adult's sexual stimulation. Another definition from Exposed that we have for child sexual abuse is it refers to the participation of a child in a sexual act aimed towards the physical gratification or the financial profit of the person committing the act. Now let's understand too that child sexual abuse is a criminal act. Sometimes people say silly things like the child consented. According to by our law, a child who is not up to 18 cannot consent to any sexual act, does not even have the right to consent to a sexual act. So the participation of a child in any sexual act aimed towards physical gratification or financial gratification of the person who is committing the act is child sexual abuse. Understand that every child sexual abuser is a criminal. It is a criminal act. It is a criminal offense. So, and it really doesn't matter who is abusing that child. It doesn't matter the role the person has, you know, in the society or in the child's family or in the child's life. As long as you're low enough to sexually abuse a child, the person is a criminal. Now, another definition is that it can be defined as any sexual act between an adult and a minor, or between two minors, between two children, when one exerts power over the other, gender notwithstanding, and it can either be heterosexually or homosexually. Now some more points are being raised. That sexual abuse is any sexual act between an adult and a minor, or it can even be between two minors, two children, two teenagers, where power is exerted over the other person. And it is saying that it does not discriminate gender. It can be males abusing males, a male abusing a male. It can be a female abusing a female. It can be a female abusing a male child. It can be a male abusing a female child. And it is not only in heterosexual sex we talk about child sexual abuse. When a male adult or adolescent abuses a male minor, it is also child sexual abuse. Homosexuality. When a female adult abuses a female minor, it is also child sexual abuse. So child sexual abuse, the word itself is broad, but I have given us three different definitions of what we could call child sexual abuse. Now usually, the people who abuse our children are people our children know. Even we the adults, we the family members, the people who abuse our children are the people we know and the people we trust a lot of times. As a matter of fact, research tells us that 93%, a whopping 93% of the people who abuse our children are the people we know, the people you know, the people you trust, the people your children have come to trust. They could be family members, they could be authority figures like teachers in school, like teachers who come to teach them, who come to coach them on skills, music teacher, football coach. They could be Sunday school teachers, they could be imams, they could be their Quranic school teachers, they could be their relations, they could be their cousins, they could be stepfathers in very bad cases, they could even be the parents of the children, and then they could be neighbors. They could be neighbors, they could be daddy's friend, could be mommy's friend. There are so many stories heartbreaking stories of people our children are close to, people our children respect, turning around to want to abuse them sexually. So we need to understand that the people who abuse our children, most times, they are people they know. It is only in 7% of the case that we have strangers abusing children. Because one of the mistakes we make many times as adults, as parents, is that we tend to tell our children not to avoid strangers. But the greater danger, the greater 93% of the people who abuse our children, they are actually the people they know. So we need to equip our children. Now there are some factors that make it easier, that enable different forms of child sexual abuse. There are some factors that, from exposed, there are some factors that enable sexual abuse of our children. The first one is naivety. When parents act very naive and they think they can trust anybody. They think because, okay, this person looks nice or this person talks nice, they can trust the person. Naivety is a factor. Naivety of parents is a factor that enables sexual abuse. Trust is not flung at people. Trust must be earned. You don't assume, okay, because this person dresses nice or this person acts nice, the person may not be a sexual abuser. Another factor is ignorance. It is very heartbreaking that many parents are ignorant about child sexual abuse. I gave us 3 different definitions of what child sexual abuse is. And honestly, I'll even run through the different forms of child sexual abuse. There are even 2 forms. There is the contact form, there is the non-contact form. The contact form is the one where our children are touched. The non-contact form is the one where children are not even touched, but it is still child sexual abuse. Now the contact form is where we have adults or older adolescents, like I said, touching our children. It could be kissing them, could be necking them, could be pecking them, where all those sexual activities happen. And then the non-sexual forms, non-contact forms, are those ones where examples are exhibitionism, where an adult exposes his private parts to a child. Pornography, where a child is introduced to pornography. I mean, why would any adult introduce a child to pornography? It's child sexual abuse. Sometimes you have adults who tell children they want to snap them and they want to snap them nude. It is child sexual abuse. Any form of introduction of a child to anything sexual is child sexual abuse. And I want to urge us as parents to be very serious about this, because you see, child sexual abuse traumatizes a child. It's a lifetime scar. It traumatizes a child. It shakes the very foundation of a child. I'm sure you don't want your child to go through that trauma. I'm sure you don't want your child to go through that trauma. So I said naivety, ignorance, they enable sexual abuse in children. Another factor that enables it is fear. Some parents, is so incredible. Some parents tell you that they because of fear, some will know that their husbands, some mothers, some will know that their husbands are abusing their children. And you know what? Because of fear of keeping their marriage, they keep quiet. Some will tell you they don't want their family to be disgraced. These things, they enable sexual abuse. They enable this traumatic experience our children have. Now there is also denial, where parents begin to form their child cannot be abused. Are you awake? Your child cannot be abused. Let me tell you, see, every child that is not well equipped is a potential victim of sexual abuse. It does not know status, it does not know background, it does not know religion. Any child that is not equipped thoroughly And can I add that this equipping of the child is not a one-off thing. It has to be continuous. You know, with children, repetition is the law of emphasis. It has to be continuous. So when a child is not equipped regularly, that child is already made vulnerable to sexual abuse. Can I also add that you have to equip your child in an age-appropriate manner. In an age-appropriate manner. Now let me talk quickly about groomers. You see, there's something about child sexual abuse. These child sexual abusers, sometimes they don't mind waiting for weeks, for months. They don't mind waiting for weeks, for months, sometimes for years before they abuse children. Some of them sometimes are not in a hurry. I'll read through some activities of groomers. Groomers are, you know, grooming is that process where an adult, a sexual abuser, tries to win the friendship of a child, wins the trust before he strikes and abuses the child. So from the book Exposed, I will read through several ways groomers act, you know, grooming behavior. 1, giving special attention to the target. A situation where a sexual abuser gives special attention to a particular child can be termed as grooming, you know. The unsuspecting child is the target here now. Frequent offers to take the child out and showering gifts of the child. So if you're a parent, if you're an adult, and you notice another adult is always paying attention to a particular child, I think you should begin to get suspicious. Another grooming behavior is making their victims feel special to have an adult friend that encourages and flatters them. Then they make the children believe that they love them so much, and it can only be expressed in a romantic way. Another grooming behavior is isolating the child from others. Isolating a particular child from others. So mommy or daddy, if you have an adult who comes to your house and, you know, tells you he likes only one particular child among the others, I think your antenna should be very sensitive. You should begin to, it is a grooming behavior. They just may be grooming your child for sexual abuse. Another grooming behavior is filling the child's unmet needs, physically and emotionally. Filling the needs and roles within the child's family, especially if the mother is a single mother. Now there are so many other activities here that time will not permit me to talk about. Now, just before I wrap up today's edition, I want us to understand that there are 4 stages of child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse does not just happen. There are 4 stages of child sexual abuse. The first stage is gaining access. A situation where the child sexual abuser tries to gain access to the life of the child, sometimes to the life of the parents, to the family. You know, they just gain access. They try to win their friendship. They win their trust. The second step is gaining trust. They gain the trust of the child. They gain the trust of the parents. And remember, I said, especially when the mother is a single mother. It happens in, you know, where father and mother is. But most times, you know, when the mother is a single mother and the man comes in, the single mother may think, this will be like an adult figure, a father figure. I'm not saying everybody who comes in like that is a sexual abuser, but I want to encourage every single mother to be alert. The person may just be a sexual abuser. You know, they want to gain trust. The third one is they break down boundaries. They break down boundaries. You know, like sometimes they are with the child and then they touch. They want to break down the boundaries. They touch the child sexually to see how the child will react. They touch the child sexually to see if the child will report to the mom, to see the mom's reaction. They are trying to break down boundaries. And the last stage is they maintain control, where they have broken boundaries, they have access to this child, they've already gained the trust of the child, and then they control the child. At this stage, whatever they do, they blackmail the child into keeping quiet. They tell the child, see, if you talk, I won't love you again. I won't express love to you again. I won't take you out again. Sometimes they even threaten the children. Parents, we have to be very careful. We have to be intentional about the protection of our children. We have been looking at tips from Exposed, What Sexual Abusers Hide from Parents by Chinyere Adeyemo. Now, as I wrap up, let me give us some tips on what every parent should do. 1, to protect our children from sexual abuse as a parent, you need to talk about sexual abusers to your children. I mean, this is the real world we live in. There are sexual abusers. Let your children, in a conversational manner, let them know that there are good people out there, there are bad people out there. Let them know what the actions, the behavior that is termed sexual abuse. Empower your children to speak out. Be friendly with your children. It is very, very important that as parents, we allow our children have access to us. We give that room for them to see whatever bothers them. We encourage them not to keep secrets, because a lot of times, I mean, we talked about the 4th stage of child sexual abuse as the stage where the adult gains control. The moment your child cannot tell you anything because the child has been told it's a secret, that sexual abuser has gained control and will do anything with your child. So, another thing every parent should do is to be cautious with people who seem too good to be true that they meet. You know, when somebody is too good and you're like, I'm not saying everybody who is good is bad, but I am saying you should be cautious. Remember I said earlier that trust should be earned. Don't just trust people because you saw them. Don't trust people because they told you they are nice. Talk is cheap. When it comes to child protection, we must be very intentional about our children. Another tip we need to have is be careful with anyone who offers extensive help to your child. Be careful with anyone who knows too much about your children. And as much as possible, know all adults who we allow to have contact with our children. You must know all the adults who have contact with your children. Why? Because you're being intentional about protecting your child. Now, use everyday issues to begin conversations and talk about sexuality and sexual abuse as a normal conversation, with lessons being wrapped around them for your children. So, for instance, you hear the case of a sexual abuse, talk to your children about it in a normal conversational way. Let them also think and tell you lessons they have learned. That way you will internalize this protection. Let the children know that you will not always be with them, and they also have a responsibility to protect themselves. More you will find in Exposed, what sexual abusers hide from parents. Today we have looked at child sexual abuse. We have looked at what it is. We have looked at who sexual abusers are. We've looked at what enables sexual abuse. And we have looked at some tips that parents should, we've taught some tips parents should know to protect their children. The book is online. The book can be got. You can contact our station, the Lash Online Radio station, for a copy of your book. And I want to say that you can prevent your child from being sexually abused. Your child does not have to be part of the statistics. And for your child not to be part of the statistics of child sexual abuse victims, you need to be up and doing as a parent. Child sexual abuse is traumatic. It is heartbreaking for the victim, the child, and even for the parents. Protect your child from being sexually abused. You have been watching Jolash Online Radio and TV station. You've been watching Greater Tomorrow platform on Jolash Online Radio and TV station. And you've been listening to Chinyere Adeyemo, your anchor on Greater Tomorrow platform. Till I come your way next week with a fresh edition on Greater Tomorrow platform, please ensure that you protect your child. Child protection is everybody's business. See you next week. Bye-bye.